Hey everyone, and welcome. Every single day, with every click, every scroll, you're building something online. And a lot of the time, you don't even realize you're doing it. So today, we're going to dive into those little traces, the data that makes up your digital footprint, and what it really says about you. Just picture it, right? You're walking along the beach, and you look behind you, and there it is, a perfect temporary record of where you've been. Each step is right there in the sand, at least for a little while. But here's where things get really different. Those footprints on the beach, they're gone with the next wave. The slate is wiped clean. Online, it's pretty much the exact opposite. Every little interaction, every click, every view, it all leaves a mark that gets recorded, backed up, and can stick around forever. The tide never really comes in to wash it away. So, that brings us right to the heart of it. What are we actually talking about when we say digital footprint? Let's break it down. Well, at its core, it's the data trail you leave behind online. And this isn't just about the stuff you actively post, your photos or your comments. It's also about your passive footprint. That's all the data that gets collected in the background, like your IP address, your search history, or even just how long you pause on a particular picture. And it happens so easily, right? You hit like on a video, drop a comment on a friend's post, share a photo from your weekend, maybe play a game, or just send a quick emoji. Each one of those little things is like a tiny digital brick that helps build a more and more detailed picture of who you are. And I really can't overstate how permanent this stuff is. We're not just talking about a post you can delete from your own feed. We're talking about data that lives on servers all over the world, that gets captured by web archives, and sometimes even sold. Just because you can't see it anymore doesn't mean it's actually gone. Okay, so if we know all this data is being collected and that it's going to stick around, the question totally changes. It's not just a technical thing anymore. It becomes a strategic one. If you're building this digital version of yourself all the time, what do you want it to look like? Now, the source material frames this in really positive, simple terms, which is great. For us, let's think of it this way. This is all about consciously curating your online reputation. It's about building a digital presence that feels authentic and professional, one that you control, instead of one that's just defined by a bunch of random, unthinking clicks. Now I know navigating all this can feel like a huge responsibility, but the thing is, you don't have to figure it all out alone. In fact, it's a really smart move to have people you can turn to for a second opinion. And that's the great news here. You can actually build a whole network of people who can act as guides for you, kind of like a compass to help you through the tricky parts of the digital world. So the source uses this term, digital guardian. Let's think of it more like building your own personal advisory board. A mentor, a trusted colleague, a friend who just gets this stuff. It's someone you can bounce an idea off of, or maybe get a gut check on a post before you put it out there, just to make sure your digital moves are lining up with your real-world goals. Okay, so with that support system in mind, how do we actually go from just passively leaving traces everywhere to actively building a digital identity we can be proud of? It really boils down to 3 key habits. First, think first. This is pure reputation management. Before you hit send or share, just take a second. Ask yourself, is this something I'd want a future boss or client to see? Second, use kind words. You have to remember, text on a screen has no tone, and online fights can get screenshotted and live forever. Being respectful isn't just about being nice, it's about avoiding a permanent searchable record of conflict. And finally, number 3, find balance. The online world is incredible, but it's also an echo chamber. Balancing it with actual real-life conversations makes sure your online self is grounded in reality, not just shaped by an algorithm. So as we start to wrap this up, let's just zoom out and focus on the big picture, that lasting mark you are creating every single time you go online. This quote really hits home online, doesn't it? In a world that's mostly text, your words are, well, they're everything. They don't have your body language or your tone of voice to help them out, but they are preserved perfectly, ready to be read and reread and maybe even misinterpreted for years. Ultimately, this all comes down to agency. You are in the driver's seat. You are the curator of your own digital story. Every single post, every comment, every like, it's a choice. You're actively deciding what pieces of yourself to add to this permanent public collage. So I'll leave you with this to think about. Your digital story is being written in permanent ink every single day. Knowing that you are the author, what kind of mark will you choose to leave?